Thank you for having me as your MC. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. So this is Mr. Lear and Friends. We invite you all to Stuff and Nonsense, a celebration of absurd ditties, hosted by me, Lucas the Peaceful Poet. So most of you will know that St. Leonards and Hastings have a connection with Edward Lear. Gail is here to tell us a little bit more about that. Gail.
Hello, good evening, and it's lovely to see everybody, and it's a lovely opportunity for me as festival director to thank Erica and Luther Towert, who I know as Lucas the Peaceful Poet, and Jill for putting together tonight's programme, and also Maria Price from Contemporary Music School, Thabo, Nyoni, who ran the poetry competition in the festival, and Cliff Crawford, who is our digital artist. And I am able to give you a little bit of insight into the background to The Owl and the Pussycat. Edward Lear was down staying with Frederick North, who was Hastings MP, down in 1852. He was painting his fig tree for the Quarries of Syracuse, which is his first big oil painting, I think. And so he gets to know the North family. And some years later, when he is down in the south of France, he bumps into Catherine, who is sister of Marianne North, and therefore daughter of Frederick North, the MP. And Catherine's daughter, Janet, is poorly. And so we believe that Edward Lear was writing a version of The Owl and Pussycat to cheer a poorly Janet up. I'll be talking about it more on Sunday, actually, because the researcher in the festival will be on our final show. Lear was here on Sunday. So if you want the definitive version and the really correct facts, then come on Sunday and hear Sean talking about it. But thank you so much, Lucas. I'll just keep talking until Lucas finds his. Ah, there you go.
Slight problem switching between two programs I have here. I do apologise. So thank you so much for that. That was really interesting, Gail. I didn't actually know that until today, so that's news to me. It's really nice to know that we have that local connection with such an amazing person. I thought it might be nice, me as the MC, to sort of talk about my connection with it as well. So actually, as well as The Owl and Pussycat being performed by my brother at my uncle's wedding, it has been a part of my life in ways that I never actually realised, because I grew up firstly without a TV, listening to Radio 4, and I'd listened to loads of amazing writers like Marty Feldman and all sorts of people. And what I later found out were these people, so The Goon Show, Marty Feldman, the Two Ronnies, Monty Python, were all really, really influenced by Lear. And I didn't know that. So I suppose indirectly and directly, I have been very influenced by Lear's work. And with that in mind, I would like to just do a quick kind of redefinition of nonsense verse. And this, if you think Two Ronnies, this is who I'm very, very much influenced by in this little piece. Nonsense verse is humuncacious or viscolateral verse that differs from other pinkolateral cosmic strata in its resistance to any possible rational or interrational matter. Though it often makes use of freumed jumble-frub verbs, far from garblefish, this strange noodled armpit artifice gradually brain-boozles you from moving between meaning and abstract haphazardly. Mab flappingly curing all fruit bats from bad allergies and finding some strange kind of narrative naturally. In conclusion, all sense is savagery. I'm off to tend to my badgery happily. Love, Natalie. There we go. So it's always a bit weird when you do these performances and there's no instant response, but don't worry, as we hear our poets as we go through, I will be being the audience. But what I will ask everyone else to do is when you are responding to a poet, if you can just be visual with it, and that way we will all see that you're enthusiastic without hearing everyone sound at once. Does that make sense? Brilliant. Fantastic. Okay, so here we go. I'm just switching between two different things here, so it's a little bit My computer, for some reason, is being a little bit glitchy. I do apologise. But to start off with, we have a video of Al and the Pussycat. If you could play that now, that would be fantastic.
The owl and the pussycat went to sea in a beautiful pea-green boat. They took some honey and plenty of money, wrapped up in a £5 note. The owl looked up to the stars above and sang to a small guitar. Oh, lovely pussy, oh pussy, my love, what a beautiful pussy you are. You are, what a beautiful pussy you are. Pussy said to the owl, you elegant fowl, how charmingly sweet you sing. Oh, let us be married. Too long we have tarried, but what shall we do for a ring? They sailed away for a year and a lay to the land where the bong tree grows. And there in the wood, a piggy-wig stood, with a ring at the end of his nose. His nose. His nose. With a ring at the end of his nose. Dear pig, are you willing to sell for 1 shilling your ring? Said the piggy, I will. So they took it away and were married next day by the turkey who lives on the hill. They dined on mince and slices of quince, which they ate with a runcible spoon, and hand in hand on the edge of the sand they danced by the light of the moon. The moon, the moon, they dance by the light of the moon. They danced by the light of the moon.
Hurrah! That was amazing. That was so good and so well read by Jill as well. That piece was actually produced by Susie, who is part of the music project that's been happening. And we have Maria here to tell us a little bit more about the music project that will be running throughout this event today. So Maria, if you're there, if you'd like to speak.
Hi, thank you for the introduction. Gail approached us a while ago about doing some music in response to the nonsense poems. And this was a project that we were going to get started with in January. But however, the problem was that then we went into lockdown. So all the people that came to mine, my husband's school for music lessons, then weren't. So when we were allowed to open again, it meant we only had 3 weeks in which everyone could then very busily try and compose their pieces of music, and which they did, which was just amazing. So what we decided to do is be a bit more creative about things, because we only had a very short amount of time to come up with these pieces of music. We decided to approach it in a slightly different way. So with the students, I'd say to them, you know, how do you imagine an owl will sound? Or what do you think Daddy Longlegs sounds like? Or when the sea comes in, what will that sound like? So they were kind of trying to paint a picture with the music rather than actually coming up with a tune sometimes. So I guess it's a more kind of avant-garde way of looking at it. But when you hear the poems read over the top, it just makes you know, much more sense. So with some of the really young students, we've got a couple that are only 7 years old, we're exploring some of the rhythms in the poem. So for instance, Mr. and Mrs. Spicky Sparrow, we've got twicky wicky wicky wee, wicky wicky twicky twee. So one of the pieces of music is just based on that little rhythm. because the girl that wrote it can only play one note at a time with one finger. So you put that one little rhythm on that one little finger. And then post-production, my husband and I just added some more sounds to them afterwards to make them make more sense. But I can't believe that when the poems are read, they fit in the right bit with the music. It's very impressive.
It's amazing, isn't it?
That's really good.
It was a real pleasure to perform over to perform Lear's work over the music as well. I think all of you guys did an amazing job. So you said some of your students were as young as 7.
Yeah, so the youngest is 7, the oldest is 11. And
Okay.
it's long work as well. I mean, I've given them a shove, but yeah, they've gone away and done this themselves. Yeah.
When I listened to it, I didn't realize they were that young, I thought they were much older, and I was still very impressed. So now I'm even more impressed. It's great, really, really good stuff.
I'm going to channel their inner John Cage for some of it, and I think it works. So.
100%. I've been teaching music recently because I'm a cover teacher, and I've been covering music for someone who's shielding, and I'm not a musician, so so it's been a real learning curve over the last 6 months. I've just been learning every little bit I can and trying not to finger prod as I go. But yeah, I know how difficult it is for first timers to play music, and this music is just. It's beautiful. We're going to hear more of it very shortly. So thank you. That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers. And now we have coming up our first poet, who I actually know very well. He came to a party at my house once. We've done loads of gigs together. He's given me or sold me many of his books. I think he might have bought my book. I'm pretty sure he did. I love Hastings. It's great, isn't it? Please put your virtual hands together for the wonderful Brian Docherty, everyone. I'll just say before we go to Brian, he's going to perform Edward Lear and the Horse and Groom and Letter to Marianne North. So over to you, Brian.
Oh, thank you, Lucas. Right. Edward Lear in the Horse and Groom. Well, I was out in Primrose Hill one day and I observed a daytime fireball. That's the rarest type of meteor. And I said to my friend, I wish it would land on Parliament. That'd wake him up. Perhaps they would start talking sense. My friend just stared at me and replied, oh, Mr. Lear, are you some kind of radical? Not at all. I just desire a better life. Go to Hastings. It's the new Brighton. So I did. I've been coming here ever since. First the Old Town, then Button St. Leonards. Such a superior class of person over here. Some of whom even say they like my work. Now, that's a sure sign of quality. And if I'm invited to a party, I'll sing for my supper. During the day, I write or draw. I walk to Rockanour and take my sketchbook. The fisherman I used to be now. Don't bother asking what I do. Today, the daffodils are blowing their trumpets. This morning, I woke with this line in my head. The owl and the pussycat must have friends. Who are they? I thought. I looked out of my window on the marina, chanted, the owl and pussycat went to sea. And they took them with me before breakfast. It's amazing how far nonsense will take you. I'm not Wordsworth, could be Byron for a day, except he wouldn't like a shingly shore. And second piece is Letter to Marianne North. Dear Miss North, once again, I am astonished and gratified to hear of your latest adventures in foreign climes. As you know, I am an admirer of Mr. Audubon and regret my eyesight is not up to the task of attempting to emulate him. Henceforth, I shall stick to writing my nonsense poems, such as the one I composed this morning for your niece Janet. It is titled The Owl and the Pussycat. My travels nowadays are limited to San Remo, and I have quite lost count of the places you have visited and painted in, where I hope my letter of introduction proved useful. Perhaps, if your father chooses to invite me to dinner, I shall have the pleasure of seeing some of your paintings and hearing you discourse on the rare and exotic birds your brush has introduced to the wider world. Please give my regards to your sister and Mr. Addington Simons. I remain your affectionate friend, Edward Lear.
Amazing. I absolutely love that. What a brilliant way to start the poetry. It's really nice to hear your reading voice again. I really love it. Thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you.
I'd just like to ask you one question before you go. Not that you're leaving, obviously, but before we move on, I just wanted to ask you what your connection is with Lear, whether you have a connection that you could tell us about, or whether he sort of came about. I don't know, what is your connection with him?
I don't remember not knowing Edward Lear's nonsense songs, so I must have been introduced to them at a very early age.
I think this is often the case, and I've been doing a lot of research about this, and in other countries, kids aren't really reading them at a young age, but in the UK, everyone is. So in the UK, it's a real part of our cultural fabric right from the beginning, before we've even started, you know, finding out who we are and what we're doing. It's there to start off with. And it's amazing to think how it permeates everything, all culture, you know. So yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Brian. That was really great stuff. Nice one. Okay, so moving on now, we're going to go to the next video. So this video is The Duck and the Kangaroo by Mandy He, who composed the music, and by myself, Lucas Howard. I read it. Here we go.
Said the duck to the kangaroo, "Good gracious, how you hop over the fields and water too, as if you never could stop. My life is a bore in this nasty pond, and I long to go out in the world beyond. I wish I could hop like you," said the duck to the kangaroo. "Please give me a ride on your back," said the duck to the kangaroo. "I would sit quite still and say nothing but quack the whole of the long day through. And we go to the Dee and the jelly boat lee, over the land and over the sea. Please take me a ride, oh do," said the duck to the kangaroo. Said the kangaroo to the duck, "This requires some little reflection. Perhaps on the whole you might bring me luck. And there seems to be one objection, which is, if you'll let me speak so bold, your feet are unpleasantly wet and cold, and would probably give me the rheumatis," said the kangaroo. Said the duck, "As I sate on the rocks, I have thought over that completely, and I bought 4 pairs of worsted socks which fit my web feet neatly. And to keep out the cold I've bought a cloak, and every day a cigar I'll smoke, all to follow my own dear true love of the kangaroo."
I love that noise at the end so much. It was a real pleasure performing to that. Thank you, Mandy He. That was really, really good. It's stripped back, but it's got so much power to it. And when you link it with the words, it's great. I really enjoyed doing that. So thank you, Mandy, and thank you, Maria. So up next, we are moving to. So I want to introduce Thabo Nyoni. So Thabo, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah.
Hi, I believe you've got a couple of poems for us today, Slugs and Snails and Buttercrock.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with Slugs and Snails, which was provided to me by Alison Cooper, and then I'll read the other one, which I just came up with recently.
Nice one.
Okay, so it says, a tribute to Slugs and Snails. 3 cheers for Mr. Gastropod. He's joined the Gestalt school. He couldn't join the insane. He's got water on the wahoo, but he's standing up for Texas with good old slow hickory smoke. Don't be confused by boomerangs. I should think they'll let him choke. They buzz, they flash, they click. And heed our nation's water fleas. He'll be out there in the garden, with his rust, smut, and mildew knees. So 3 cheers for Mr. Mollusk. I've had water on my shoes. If he's in some suitable sheltered spot, he's got the absent-minded nose molds blues. So that's the first one.
Wonderful. Some beautiful imagery in there. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
So this one is Buttercrock and the Gull. Okay. So there was a croc everyone loved to mock, full of holes, breathed like a vacuum cleaner, which made everyone as cold as a rock. Cold from fear, which made them even meaner. Croc was a pariah, all up dire. His wish was to house human feet, a hive mind, 2 shoes with one desire. He stepped to feet, but humans crossed the street. Rejection chewed chunks of his confidence. Then one day he began to reminisce. He was once told that there was more to him, that he'd one day be held in high esteem. So when his wings came and he grew a mane, Buttercrock drove his observers insane. They no longer were annoyed by his sound. All the bare feet now wanted him around. Only one girl had shown him true kindness. She now walked over to watch the madness. Her bare feet, she was broke, kind and shoeless. He roared. Of what he was, she was clueless. He was now very much self-confident. She stepped in, Buttercrock left the pavement. She rose above ground and captured the press. With Buttercrock, she flew like a goddess.
Thank you, Thabo. That was really wonderful. Amazing. I know it's really weird when you're performing online. There's not a huge, instant response, but believe me when I say that's all going on in my heart for you, bro. I really felt that. It was amazing. Beautiful story. It shows that you really clearly understand what Lear was trying to do with his work, which was, it might seem like stuff and nonsense on the surface, but really there's a lot of depth there. And the depth that he had in your work, you have in yours. And I really appreciate that. So thank you so much, Thabo. Are you still there, Thabo?
Oh yeah, I am.
Brilliant. And before you go, I just wanted to ask you what your connection to Lear is. Is it something you came across early on in your life or something maybe a bit later?
No, actually. So with the A Town Explores a Book, that was the first time I'd actually came into contact with Lear.
Wow.
And it's quite weird because he's so popular, so I was surprised I'd never.
Yeah.
I think it's because I've never really properly looked into children's poetry, so a lot of this is like learning for me, but yeah, sure. It's very good. I like the musical quality of his poems.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? And of course he was a musician as well. A lot of people forget this. He made hundreds and hundreds of songs, and many of them go with a verse that he wrote. And so it's really wonderful that we can be here celebrating music and poetry at the same time today. I think it's very apt. Thank you, Thabo. Wonderful stuff. Cheers. Okay, so we're going to move on from our poet to the next video, and this is Daddy Longlegs and the Fly. The musician-composer is Bella, and the reader is Erica Smith. Here we go.
Once, Mr. Daddy Longlegs, dressed in brown and grey, walked upon the sands upon a summer's day. And there among the pebbles, when the wind was rather cold, he met with Mr. Floppy Fly, all dressed in blue and gold. And as it was too soon to dine, they drank some periwinkle wine, and played an hour or two or more at battlecock and shuttledore. Said Mr. Daddy Longlegs, Mr. Floppy Fly. Why do you never come to court? I wish you'd tell me why. All gold and shine, in dress so fine, you'd quite delight the court. Why do you never go at all? I really think you ought. And if you went, you'd see such sights, such rugs, such jugs, and candle lights. And more than all, the king and queen, one in red and one in green. Oh, Mr. Daddy Longlegs, said Mr. Floppy Fly, it's true I never go to court, and I will tell you why. If I had 6 long legs like yours, at once I'd go to court. But oh, I can't, because my legs are so extremely short. And I'm afraid the king and queen, one in red and one in green, would say aloud, you are not fit, you fly, to come to court a bit. Oh, Mr. Daddy Longlegs, said Mr. Floppy Fly, I wish you'd sing one little song, one mumblian melody. You used to sing so awful well in former days gone by. But now you never sing at all. I wish you'd tell me why. For if you would, the silvery sound would please the shrimps and cockles round, and all the crabs would gladly come to hear you sing a hum, dee hum, dee hum.
Yeah, woo! That's so good. The videos are so good as well. The whole thing is marvelous. And well done to Erica for reading that, Erica Smith, and also to Bella for composing that. What a wonderful piece. Those lower notes really get me in the belly. I love it. It's great. So yeah, that's my little applause for that bit. That was great. Right, we're going to move on now to Emma Silvester, our next poet. Welcome, Emma, if you're there. Do we have an Emma in the house?
We do. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Welcome.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm good, actually. It's been nice to be out in the sunshine.
It's not been too bad today, has it? It's been okay.
A bit cold, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for...
So you're here today to do 3 poems, is that right?
Just little bits that I wrote over different times.
Brilliant.
And Jill asked me if I would do some, and I just threw some at her, and she said, yeah, they're fine. So here they are.
Oh, marvellous. Do you want me to introduce each poem before you start, or are you going to do that?
I can do it if you want. It's
no problem at all.
Yeah, just going back to your introduction, it's sort of thinking about getting influence from, you said Radio 4. I'm afraid in my day it was the Home Service. Everything from the Goon Show to all sorts of weird things, but
oh, it's great, isn't it? I love it. There's just the fun of it, just the silliness of it. And I think at the moment that's what we need more than ever, isn't it? A little bit of silliness in our lives.
Yeah, and I mean that was my stuff I liked. But then one day I heard I am the very model of a modern Major General. And discovered W.S. Gilbert and immediately fell in love with words, and that's what I like doing. I like using words, so even my nonsense, I think I like to try and use words.
Brilliant.
I'm going to put my glasses on. The first one, there were a lot of people wrote lots of things about lockdown, usually moaning about how awful it was and so forth. But this was something that happened at the beginning of the first lockdown, and there were lots of pictures on WhatsApp and whatever of animals reclaiming the streets and wandering through cities and all sorts of strange places. And the one that got to me was the penguins on the beach in Cape Town, and it just prompted me to write this little thing. We are holidaying penguins, just visiting your shores. It's really grand here on your sound. while you isolate indoors. You'll never see a penguin who's an actor or a model. But honestly, you must agree, we have the cutest waddle. It's been great to visit Cape Town, but now it's really time to go. Your summer heat has burnt our feet, and we're off to find our flow. We'll go home to the Antarctic, as we think it's really nice to cool our toes on frozen snows and cavort on lovely ice. So keep down your emissions and hear our parting wish. Don't melt our ice, that isn't nice. And don't take all our fish. So that's the first one. The second is it's a children's thing really. I did write it. I visited my sister 4 or 5 years ago, and she had her granddaughter there, and we were talking about silly things, and she was asking me what upside down meant and things like this. So I wrote this poem for her at the time. It's a strange history because it's not something I've tried to publish or anything, but I then performed it once at a poetry evening, not long afterwards. And the most astonishing thing happened because, I'd never published it, I'd never done it in writing. My sister rang up to say, oh, your poem's on Facebook. How that got taken from a reading once in a poetry evening to appearing on Facebook, I have never, ever discovered. So anyway, the poem is called If the World Were Upside Down. If the world were upside down, we'd have to smile to make a frown. Owls would swim and dolphins fly. Our feet would dangle in the sky. If the world were back to front, then pigs could sing and blackbirds grunt. Those in front would be behind. We'd not be cruel, but really kind. If the world were inside out, we'd whisper more and never shout. There'd be no work, but always play, and weekends happen every day. If the world were wrong way round, the things we lost would soon be found. Then enemies would all be friends, and we'd have fun that never ends. Thank you.
Marvelous, really good stuff. I love it. I love your style, Emma. It's really great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, the third one is another lockdown one, but it's a recent one, it's called The World's Awash with Cockapoos. Their names are Ozzy, Sunday, Gus. Now on the street or on the bus, I recommend you be aware. Extending leads trail everywhere. I love to walk down by the sea, stroll on the prom, perhaps a tea. But now I need to concentrate where lockdown dogs proliferate. Bulldog, husky, beagle, poodle, collie, cocker, labradoodle, shih tzu, schnauzer, lurcher, staffy, all blocking access to the cafe. Teachers, waiters, hippies, yuppies, parading their designer puppies, excessively apparelled pooches, adorned in Calvin Kleins or Gucci's. On the beach at ebbing tide, sprinting free and far and wide, careering in a plume of spray, I wince and leap out of the way. Exploding from the foaming brine, I'm always in their firing line, as they shake themselves with all their power and bestow a cold, unwelcome shower. All day I'm dodging doggy-doos. The world's awash with cockapoos. Thank you.
That was wonderful, and something I can relate to as well, actually, because I live in a part of town in Hastings where there's a big green area just in front of my house, and I'd love to be able to go and sit out there, but I'm always only a couple of inches away from a poo, so it's not very inviting. But yeah, like it's been amazing to see all the dogs come out. I was actually surprised to see so many dogs, because I was thinking, like, how can there be this many dogs in town? People gone out to buy dogs just so they can take them for a walk during lockdown. Like, what's going on here? But they suddenly came from everywhere.
Yeah, it is wonderful to watch them at low tide, but you have to keep well out of the way, or you do get a shower. But yeah, Bexhill's not so bad in the doggy doos, but
see, that's my problem. I moved to the wrong place. Thank you so much. That was really good. And like I said before, I really like your style, and it's so apt for what we're doing today. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Emma. Okay, we're going to move on to our next video, which is Calico Pie by Ashley Chen. Ashley Chen composed the music, and it's read by Cliff Crawford. Here we go.
Calico pie, the little birds fly down to the calico tree. Their wings were blue and they sang tilly-loo, till away they flew. And they never came back to me, they never came back, they never came back, they never came back to me. Calico jam, the little fish swam over the syllabub sea. He took off his hat to the sole and the sprat and the willoughby wat, but he never came back to me. He never came back. He never came back. He never came back to me. Calico ban, the little mice ran to be ready in time for tea. Flippity flop, they drank it all up and danced in the cup, but they never came back to me. They never came back. They never came back. They never came back to me. Calico drum, the grasshoppers come, the butterfly, beetle and bee, over the ground, around and around, with a hop and a bound, but they never came back to me. They never came back. They never came back. They never came back to me.
I love that so much. Amazing stuff. That was really cool. So we have Cliff there reading it beautifully. We have Ashley Chen with the music. The video is so nice. And I've got to say, I don't know if I'm the only one, but I found that quite moving. It's and a little bit sad, but it was so beautiful. Really, really good. I'm so glad these videos have come together so well. It's so much effort has got into this from so many different people. It's so nice to see it at the event all coming into place. So thanks to everyone who has, gone into making these videos, because they really are great. And that was a brilliant example. Okay, on to our next performer. We have Felicity Stephen. Is Felicity there? Felicity, are you there? Hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
I'm loving it.
Brilliant. I can't see you at the moment because of my setup, but I can hear your voice. So I have no idea what you look like, but I have a picture from your voice. So there we are. Before you start your poetry, I was just wondering if I could ask you the same question I've asked everyone else. What is your connection to Lear?
Just whole life, owl and pussycat, since very early age. Much the same as others. Yes. It goes way back. I won't say how far.
Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to give us years and months or anything like that. But yeah, it's I think, like we were saying before, it does affect people at an early age and stays with them. And even people who find it later, it's almost like you're drawn back to being a child, that wonder, isn't it? It's marvelous stuff. Thank you for being here and thank you for joining us. Your poem today is, I'm not sure if I can spell this, pronounce it. Could you pronounce it for us?
I help you. Echlanodia.
Echlanodia. There we go. Is that the only one you're performing today, or are you doing a couple?
Well, I'm helping the echlinodia because not everyone knows this, but echlinodia lives in Alexandra Park.
Okay.
But I'm not going to say exactly where because protected species.
Sure.
But echlinodia is trying to find a mate.
Okay, cool. Can't wait to hear.
Echlinodia. The echlinodia's brains are huge. So are its feet. It wears plus size shoes. It stamps about all over the place, worrying Hastings Mayor with his sorrowful face. But echlonodia's intentions are good, cleaning up litter, as all of us should. Even the dog poo bags under one's toes that isn't amusing, as everyone knows. Echlonodia's kind, echlonodia's brave, and outside of lockdown, it loves a good rave. To call it an it is not at all rude, as no one has seen it, not ever all nude, and were we to do so, who is to say that this, a fab creature, should look such a way? It can look like it looks, a he, she, or they. I haven't yet mentioned its colour of hair, that is pink at the moment, but usually quite fair. That's one head, the other's gone purple as a dare. Its two heads are not always better than one, as in arguing they can't agree what should get done. But when echlonodia's chilling, just having a rest, we can call on our big chum who knows what is best. Echlonodia's quite handsome if two heads your thing. Echlinodia can beatbox and in harmony sing. Echlinodia can listen for hours upon end, an essential skill in being a cool friend. Its scales are fantastical and its tail goes for miles. But the very best thing, it's two great big smiles.
I loved it. That was great. And this thing lives in the park. I can't wait to, you know what, like I go jogging in the park. If I ever come across one, I'm going to be emailing you straight away. Be like, I found it. I found it. That was so good. I love it. I love the whole creature vibe with it as well. You know, you couldn't go so far with just one creature. That was really good. Thank you so much for sharing, Felicity.
Thank you.
It's really good stuff. I love it. And can I just remind everyone else out there, every time that a poet finishes, it would be great for them to see you just going crazy. And don't worry, because this is a silly event, so it's okay to be a bit silly. It's kind of all goes with the show. So please don't feel bad about moving around, being as silly as you want. It doesn't matter what age we are, all of that stuff. We're all here for the same reason, which is to enjoy Lear's lovely nonsensical poetry. So thank you, Felicity. That was beautiful. And we're now moving on to our next video, Mr. and Mrs. Spicky Sparrow. This is by Ella and reader Jill.
On a little piece of wood, Mr. Spicky Sparrow stood. Mrs. Sparrow sat close by, a making of an insect pie for her little children 5 in the nest and all alive, singing with a cheerful smile to amuse them all the while. Tweaky-wee-wee, wicky-wicky, spicky-spicky-wee. Mrs. Spicky Sparrow said, Spicky, darling, on my head, many thoughts of trouble come, like to flies upon a plum. All last night among the trees, I heard you cough, I heard you sneeze, and thought I, it's come to that, because he doesn't wear a hat. Chippy-whippy-tickety, bicky-bicky-tee, chippy-kippy. Not that you are growing old, but the nights are growing cold. One stays out all night long without a hat. I'm sure it's wrong. Mr. Spicky said, how kind, dear, you are to speak your mind. All your life I wish you luck. You are a lovely duck. Witch-witch-witch-wee, witch-witch-witch-wee. I was all so sad and thinking, when one day I saw you winking, and I heard you sniffle-snuffle. I saw your feathers ruffle. To myself I sadly said, she's neuralgia in her head. That dear head has nothing on it. She ought not wear a bonnet. Witchy, gitchy, gitchy, wee, spicky, wicky, wee, chippy, chippy, chee. Let us fly up to town. There I'll buy you such a gown, which completely in the fashion you shall tie a sky blue sash on, and a pair of slippers neat to fit your darling little feet, so that you will look and feel quite galubrious and genteel. Cheeky, wicky, wicky, wee. Chicky, chicky, wee. Witchy, wee. So they both to London went, alighting on the monument. Once they flew down softly, pop, into Moses' wholesale shop. There they bought a hat and bonnet, and a gown with spots upon it, a satin sash of clocksome blue, and a pair of slippers too. Zicky, wicky, micky, bee, witchy, witchy, mitchy, key, sicky, ticky, wee. Then, when so completely dressed, back they flew and reached their nest. Their children cried, "Oh, Ma and Pa, how truly beautiful you are!" Said they, "We trust that cold or pain we shall never feel again, while perched on tree or house or steeple, we now shall look like other people. Witchy, 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 wee, twicky, micky, bicky, bee, zicky, sicky, tea."
Marvelous. There we are. That's our last video. So not our last video. That's our most recent video, and that one is Spicky Sparrow. It's made by Ella Nguyen or Nguyen is the musical composer, and it's read by our very own Jill. What I particularly like about that one with the poem is the kind of staccato, the sound effects of the words. I really love that, and I know if I'd have heard that as a kid, I'd have really loved it for that reason. I love anything like that. Anything that sounds rhythmic and musical with the voice is marvelous. And Jill did so well at reading it out. Thank you, Jill. Okay, we're going to move on to Gwendoline Coates now. Gwendoline, are you there? Do we have a Gwendoline in the house?
We do. Hello.
Hey, marvellous. It's always nice when things go to plan. How are you today, Gwendoline?
I'm very well indeed, thank you.
Fantastic. And do you want to tell us a little bit about your connection with Lear, if you have one?
Oh, I do, yes. My father was a great fan of Edward Lear, and that had two aspects of it. One which was a great joy, which was that when my brother and I were learning piano as small children, my father would make up lots of verses to go with our little pieces, so that we would repeat the piece. And so 6, 8 verses, so you play the same thing 6 or 8 times. So that was great fun. The bit that was maybe not quite such fun was that in order to get our 6pence pocket money on Saturday mornings, we had to learn quite a lot of poetry, which was fine. It was fun when it was Lear, shall we say that?
Yeah.
It felt like a bit of a task, but taught us to learn poetry by heart, which I think is a very good thing.
Wow, that's real testament to Lear there, that he was the one poet that made you want to do it. That's incredible. What a lovely story. So you're going to perform Dash and Diphthong for us today?
That's right, yes. The Dash and the Diphthong. So this is after The Owl and the Pussycat, and in praise of the editor and good punctuation. The Dash and the Diphthong went to sea in a beautiful period boat. They took their crammer and plenty of grammar wrapped up in the editor's note. The Dash looked up to the asterisk and sang in an accent grave, "Oh, lovely Diphthong, oh, Diphthong, my love. What a beautiful diphthong you are, you are. What a beautiful diphthong you are." Dip said to the Dash, "You are terribly rash, but charmingly sweet you sing." So let us sedilla. It is such a thriller, but what shall we do for a ring? They wrote away for a year and a day on the deck where the commas stand, while there on the mat parenthesis sat, with a ring on his round and per sand, with a ring on his round and per sand. Dear sir, are you inkling to sell for a twinkling your ring? Said the bracket, I will. So they took it away and were hyphened next day by the umlaut who lives on the hill. They dined by rote and slices of quote, which they ate with a solidus spoon. And stage by stage, at the edge of the page, they danced in a rhythmic cocoon, cocoon, cocoon. They danced in a rhythmic cocoon.
That's so good. It's so clever what you've done there. I really love it. You've taken something from the absurd sort of make-believe world and you brought it into the real world, but still doing wonderful things with your wordplay there. It was a real pleasure to listen to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marvelous. Brilliant stuff. Okay, so up next we have another version of Daddy Longlegs and Fly. And this is by Henry Wilson, who's done the music, and the reader is myself. Here you go.
Once Mr. Daddy Longlegs, dressed in brown and grey, walked upon the sands upon a summer's day, and there among the pebbles, when the wind was rather cold, he met with Mr. Floppy Fly, all dressed in blue and gold. And as it was too soon to dine, they drank some periwinkle wine, and played an hour or two or more at battlecock and shuttledore. Said Mr. Daddy Longlegs to Mr. Floppy Fly, why do you never come to court? I wish you'd tell me why. All gold and shine, in dress so fine, you'd quite delight the court. Why do you never go at all? I really think you ought. And if you went, you'd see such sights, such rugs, such jugs and candle lights, and more than all, the king and queen, one in red and one in green. Oh, Mr. Daddy Longlegs, said Mr. Floppy Fly, it's true I never go to court, and I will tell you why. If I had 6 long legs like yours, at once I'd go to court, but oh, I can't, because my legs are so extremely short. And I'm afraid the king and queen, one in red and one in green, would say aloud, you are not fit, you Fly, to come to court a bit. Oh, Mr. Daddy Longlegs, said Mr. Floppy Fly, I wish you'd sing one little song, one Mumbian melody. You used to sing so awfully well in former days gone by, but now you never sing at all. I wish you'd tell me why. For if you would, the silvery sound would please the shrimps and cockles round, and all the crabs would gladly come to hear you sing a dum-de-dum. Said Mr. Daddy Longlegs, I cannot sing again, and if you wish I'll tell you why, although it gives me pain. For years I cannot hum a bit, or sing the smallest song. And this, the dreadful reason is, my legs are grown too long. My 6 long legs, all here and there, oppress my bosom with despair. And if I stand or lie or sit, I cannot sing one little bit. So Mr. Daddy Longlegs and Mr. Floppy Fly sat down in silence by the sea and gazed upon the sky. They said, this dreadful thing, the world has gone all wrong, since one has legs too short by half, the other much too long. One never more can go to court because his legs are grown too short, the other cannot sing a song because his legs are grown too long. Then Mr. Daddy Longlegs and Mr. Floppy Fly rushed downwards to the foamy sea with one spontaneous cry, and there they found a little boat whose sails are pink and grey, and off they sailed among the waves, far and far away.
Wonderful stuff. It really was a pleasure. Thank you to Henry Wilson for giving me the opportunity to perform over such a lovely piece of music. I really enjoyed that one. So thank you, Henry. That was marvellous. So we are on to our next poet, who is very dear to my heart, actually. She lives just around the corner from me, and we know each other through the poetry scene. Please welcome to the screen, Carol Segal. Carol, are you there? This is when her face pops up and it's someone completely different. Hello, Carol, is that you?
Yeah, I'm
Is
here.
that the Carol I know well?
Yes, yeah, just unmuted.
Ah, marvellous. Well, welcome. Isn't this such fun?
It's all been absolutely marvellous. So
it's really lovely.
Enjoyable. Yeah, it's lovely. Well, for start, Edward Lear, I joined the library when I was 4, and local library, and I just got the books out as soon as I could read them, which was fairly soon. So yeah, I've been reading it all my life, and I've used his poems with year ones and reception children, everything. So yeah,
they love it, don't they? I work in primary sometimes, and I've used Lear, and they absolutely love it. They go crazy for it.
Now it's my turn to read. I've actually changed my mind about what I want to read.
Oh, interesting.
Can I do that? Because I sent Jill some. Where's Jill? I sent some poems, but they're not. I mean, now I've heard what I've been listening to. It's what I've sent is not really nonsense. It's all pretty. They're funny, but they're not nonsense.
That's okay, because do you know what? We're all responding to different parts of Lear's style. So, Lear is known for being very whimsical, humorous. So if that's what you're responding to, then that fits perfectly. If you'd like to perform something else, that's absolutely fine too.
Well, yeah, because I've got one, because whenever we seem to be on strange creatures, made up creatures, this one is quite a long one, so it's just the one. And so I won't do any other. And this is just comes from a dream I had. It was just a dream, and I just wrote it down as it happened. So that is a lot more kind of whimsical and unreal. It's very sad. Get your tissues out. Right.
I've got a tea towel. Will that do?
You'll need it. Yeah.
Nice.
I nearly cry when I get to the end. So, yeah, and this is exactly, I just wrote it down exactly as I dreamt it. The Wynindrum. On a broad sunny beach, on a bright sunny day, somewhere near Sydney, I lazily lay. As I heard the surf pound, as I watched the surf curl, I was joined for a chat by a bright little girl. We sat for a while engaged in our talk, then decided to go for a leisurely walk. When, approaching a jetty, we saw, perched below, a strange-looking creature with feathers of snow. A sort of a bird, a beautiful sight. Well, sort of birdish, but not really quite. An unusual creature to meet by the sea. We gasped at each other. Oh, what can it be? A strange, lovely creature, this almost a bird, moved closer to us as it had overheard and answered our question, polite as could be. I am called a Wynindrum. Wynindrum, that's me. Then fluffing its feathers, it settled itself comfortably on its jetty strut shelf. This bird is astonishingly self-aware. Whatever it is, wherever it's from, we must treat it with care, I explained to the child, who looked on amazed at the sad, gentle eyes which returned her wide gaze. I asked a few questions, and from the bird's tone, it seemed to be vulnerable and alone. I'll come down to see you, I said, every day. You don't really belong here. I'll check you're okay. So all the next week to the beach I'd go down, but shortly thereafter was called into town by a friend who was ill and required to be driven. So I broke for a while the promise I'd given. I collected her children, and gave them their tea. I had not a moment to think of the sea and the lonely Winindrum who waited for me. Filled with these duties, 2 weeks had soon flown. Then my friend was much better. My time was my own. I returned once again to the massive sea swell to see the Winindrum and check all was well, though deep in my heart was a shadow of fear. I refused to believe it until I drew near and saw sad white feathers adrift on the shore. My beloved Winindrum, I'm going into tears when I read it. My beloved Winindrum had drowned hours before. While I was hurrying back to the beach, a huge wave had carried the bird out of reach, then deposited it in this pitiful state. I had arrived just a short time too late. I knelt by its side all alone with my grief and the promise I'd broken. There seemed no relief. I looked at the beach and the people who lay thoughtlessly sunning themselves every day. They knew all the dangers of this great cruel sea. They could have done something. It wasn't just me. They had known and cared nothing, not given a thought to a sad, lonely creature, or perhaps now they ought. So I raised up my head and I uttered a cry, such a long ululation that none could pass by or relax or go swimming or play a beach game without being touched by a chill and a shame for the loss of a creature who knew its own name.
Oh. I'm too sad to wave my arms around. That was so good. That was really, really good. And
yeah, I just
the pathos in that was just is so incredible. I love it.
I know. I get close to crying myself when it's terrible. But that was exactly how I dreamt it. I mean, I just woke up and wrote it all down, and it just went into rhyme like that. So yeah,
it's really nice, and I think it's very suited to what we're doing today as well. Because what I've come to realise, just from doing research and reading people's poems and all that kind of thing, is actually there's a hell of a lot of depth to what Lear was doing. You know, that he has an emotional understanding of the world, and he has a very deep understanding of human nature, and I think that shines through his work. That's what I heard when you did yours, Carol. I heard this really, depth of understanding of human nature. So I think you hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah, I think, I just felt that the ones I'd chosen, listening to it all, this was the one that fitted, not the one, more than the others. Yeah.
I'm so glad you did this one. I haven't heard the other ones, but I'm glad you did this one because it's fantastic. Perfect. Thank you so much.
I think you actually have heard the other ones.
Oh, have I? Okay. Brilliant. Nice one. Thank you, Carol. That was really, really lovely. Thanks. Okay, we're going to move on to our next video now, which is Calico Pie. And this one, the music was made by Kelly Lee, and it's performed by our own Erica Smith. Off we go.
Calico Pie, the little birds fly down to the calico tree. Their wings were blue, and they sang tilly-loo till away they flew, and they never came back to me. They never came back. They never came back. They never came back to me. Calico Jam, the little fish swam over the syllabub sea. He took off his hat to the sole and the sprat and the willoughby wat, but he never came back to me. He never came back. He never came back. He never came back to me. Calico Ban, the little mice ran to be ready in time for tea. Flippity flop, they drank it all up. and danced in the cup. But they never came back to me. They never came back. They never came back. They never came back to me. Calico drum, the grasshoppers come, the butterfly, beetle and bee, over the ground, around and around, with a hop and a bound. But they never came back to me. They never came back. They never came back. They never came back to me.
There we are. Wow. That was really great. That was Calico Pie by Kelly Lee, who really meant business with that one. I could hear the keys. There's so much emotion in that. And that was read by Erica Smith as well. So yeah, amazing stuff. And the video, again, beautiful. Next up, we have Penny Pepper. Penny, is there a Penny in the house? Penny, are you there?
No, I am.
Hey! It's really nice to have you here.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't actually have any poems, any names of poems that you're doing today, but I assume that you have them ready to go.
I do. Well, Brilliant. The first, I will just say my connection to Lear.
Sure.
As I think I told Erica and I shared it on Twitter, is that when I was about 8 or 9, I actually won a prize. It's the first prize I wrote as a writer when I was 8 or 9, and I got given the Edward Lear's Book of Nonsense verse, and I think it changed me forever. So there you go. He's probably responsible for all my rolling rhymes, and I love him. So I'm actually going to read a little sad poem, and then, wish me luck, I'm going to improvise a poem on the spot.
Well, good luck.
About the Hastings bear. So hold on to that. This little sad one is called, if I can find it, Bead Eye, and it's because it's about a creature. I'm sure you'll work out what it is, but I felt that it did fit. In that Edward Lear really loves beasts, doesn't he, and animals, and he twists them and turns them, but it's always affectionate. So this is called Bead Eye. It's an apology, a dot, optical, twitches, your reptilian pass ringed, white spectacles for the beard, the bead, darkest glass in a forgotten church. Your neck elongates as motion At motion, the bead detects, then bobbing as you work and walk on. Birds around you on stumps, minus bits and pieces of you, as your magnet in the brain draws you to food. Yet I cry, pigeon, when the bead is closed or made an obscure smear into the mess of you on a road. Okay.
Lovely. I love that one. It was very sad.
Shameless plug, you know, all that. Anyway, that one's still available. The other one's sold out. So just wish me luck, because I'm going to try and wing it about the Hastings Bear.
Good luck. I'm looking forward to this. I love it when people wing stuff.
So obviously I've been playing with it, and I talked to Erica about it, and so here we go. Have you seen the Hastings Bear? He has 10 eyes and rhubarb hair. He really is a strange affair, going here and going there. Some say he may be a millionaire. The seagulls cry beyond compare. The purple, pink or green Hastings Bear. Some may call him the seal on the beach. They claim he is quite debonair. But we look at the fish along the beach and wonder now, is it fair for the Hastings Bear, as we wander here and wander there and wonder at our own frontier and look at the Hastings, wily, woolly Hastings Bear with his glare and his rhubarb hair? Does he care who's here or there? Do we ruin the sea where the salmon swim, where he catches fish, his food to snare? I ask you now, let's not despair. Let's look and avoid nightmares while we hope and search for the Hastings Bear.
Really great stuff. Love it. That was great. And now I have 2 creatures to watch out for in Hastings. It's amazing. I didn't even know there was one. That's such great stuff. Thank you. Do you have anything more for us today, Penny, or is that the lot?
Well, you know, I don't need encouragement, but can I do another little short one?
It's fine by me.
Which is, if I can find it, page 55. I hope you didn't hear the my door buzz. I think.
I thought it was sound effects, like in the videos.
It was the Hastings Bear. You see, just
yeah, of course.
Having a takeaway delivered.
Well, I hope you enjoy your takeaway. I'm a little bit envious now.
Oh, you know. Anyway, this is called Fossil Hunting, which somehow fits with the theme. Very short. We were bold and brave that windy dawn by the dim and dancing sea of Dorset, its sand and shells and stones all singing. Bone and blood and bivalves stray here, and the ghosts of great gone beasts gather by our hands, harassing the slate in our hearts. There we go. Thank you.
Nice one. Thank you, Penny.
And can I just say, not just because I'm a terrible show-off, but that book, Come Home Alive, it's available in our fabulous local bookshops.
Nice one.
Bookseller and printed matter.
There's nothing wrong with getting a plug in. We all need to get our plugs in. Thank you, Penny. That was wonderful. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so now we are over to little old me, Lucas Howard. And this is Men in Ties. I wrote this about 13 years ago. I actually wrote the first line before that. But I guess it's kind of nonsensy, but at the same time, I think it's kind of like tackles some issues that I have with being a man, because for a long time when I was growing up, I didn't really have very good role models of what a man should be. And all the strong people in my life were women. So becoming a man was very scary to me. I suddenly thought I was going to become all of these people that had given me problems. So this is called Men in Ties. I know not why, but I despise men with tightly knotted ties, and men who always tie their ties far too loose and far too wide. Men who walk around in socks, and men who wear their suits to shops, and men who prefer to wear frocks and funny fancy frilly tops. Men who dust and clean their shelves, and men who barely clean themselves and leave behind revolting smells in places that they choose to dwell. I would not care if or when I never saw a man again, but of course it doesn't help that I'm a bloody man myself. Thank you. Thank you. It's silent, but I love people moving around, so thank you for that. That's wonderful. Thank you for letting me share that. We're going to end on a video, and then I'm going to sort of conclude and thank everyone. But this next video is The Owl and the Pussycat. This one is by Jackie Chen, the music, and it's read again by Cliff Crawford. Here we go.
The Owl and the Pussycat went to sea in a beautiful pea-green boat. They took some honey and plenty of money wrapped up in a £5 note. The owl looked up to the stars above and sang to a small guitar. Oh, lovely pussy, oh, pussy, my love. What a beautiful pussy you are, you are, you are. What a beautiful pussy you are. Pussy said to the owl, you elegant fowl, how charmingly sweet you sing. Oh, let us be married, too long have we tarried, but what shall we do for a ring? They sailed away for a year and a day to the land where the bong tree grows, and there in a wood a piggy-wig stood, with a ring at the end of his nose, his nose, with a ring at the end of his nose. Dear pig, are you willing to sell for 1 shilling your ring? Said the piggy, I will. So they took it away and were married next day by the turkey who lived on the hill. They dined on mince and slices of quince, which they ate with a runcible spoon, and hand in hand on the edge of the sand they danced to the light of the moon. The moon, the moon, they danced to the light of the moon.
Wonderful. That was like a little jig, that one at the end, wasn't it? That was really great. So that one, the music was by Jackie Chen. So big up to Jackie. And also read by Cliff Crawford, who made the animations as well, I believe. So this leads us on to the bit that I really like, which is thanking people. It's been amazing to see everyone collaborate on this, because everyone's sort of coming at it from different angles, but it really has come together. So thank you to all the poets and musicians who've been so generous with their work and their time. Thank you to Cliff Crawford for the wonderful animations. Thank you to Erica Smith for being the Zoom mistress and negotiator. And Erica actually helped me out the other day with a little bit of organising. So thank you, special thanks to you, Erica, on that one. You know what I'm talking about. And then we've got Jill Rock as facilitator. It's been wonderful working with you, Jill, it really has. And then all the wonderful audience for being with us. Without you, we would have no show at all. And of course, the one person to thank, who unfortunately won't hear this, at least not in the physical realm, is Lear himself, to Edward Lear. Thank you so much, Mr. Lear, for bringing so much joy to our lives. We really, really thank you, because as you can see, it inspires us greatly. And lastly, thank you to little old me for being the gregarious loudmouth I am.
I've unmuted myself actually, so that I can thank Lucas the Peaceful Poet for emceeing this evening, and for all the poets. It's just been such a fascinating and beautiful sharing. I feel like we're in a bar, and it's like one of those like a subterranean, really, really tight spaces, and we're all there, and you can smell the wine. It's been beautifully evocative of a different time. And haven't we made a beautiful community together? And thank you to those wonderful young composers. Thank you to Maria for facilitating them. I do think if the festival is about anything, it's about a community, and everybody here tonight, by being here, has enabled those young musicians aged 7 to 11 to create music which then has been beautifully lifted with Cliff's animations, wonderful voice recordings over the top, to something that really probably, hopefully, shares how our hearts sing. You know, I think it's about us all. If we are anything as human beings, I think tonight has shown us as what we are. So thank you so much, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you on Sunday for the closing ceremony. I'll hand back to Luther.
Nice one. Thank you so much for that, Gail. That was really well said. It's been absolutely amazing being involved in this. It was only a few weeks ago that I sort of started thinking about it. And I didn't realise that all of this lovely stuff was going on in Hastings. It's one of the many things I really love about Hastings. So thank you once again to everyone involved. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much. I don't want the night to end. There we go. We are done. Hurrah!